Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Well, you're talking about...
No, yes, okay. Let me cut this in half for you. I understand the distinction between a valid syllogism, right, which deals with the form, right, and the content or the inference rules following to the conclusion. That's soundness, right?
No.
What? Wait. Wow. Okay, so do you disagree with the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy realistic nihilists that validity has to do with form of the argument and soundness has to do with the inference rules leading to the conclusion?
Yes. That's not what...
Wow. So, okay.
That's not what the Stanford Encyclopedia says, right?
Good. Go ahead and give me a citation.
Well, how am I supposed to give you a citation of what it doesn't say? Well, I can just... What I'd have to do is read you...
No. Here's all you have to do. Just look up soundness, right? And validity on any of these encyclopedial sources online, and they will actually tell you what I just told you.
No, they won't, because validity... Look, I know...
Good. Which article should I read on these sources?
Well, it just seems like you should read the articles on validity.
I already have.
Well, because let me just explain. Let's stop cutting me off and let me explain what my notions are, and then we can try to make some progress.
Go ahead.
So the reason I'm saying an argument is only valid if the inference rules are truth-preserving. That's what it means for something to be valid.
Wow. No, validity has to do with form of an argument in philosophical circles.
The form of an argument includes the inference rules.
No, we're talking about... No, it doesn't. Soundness is where inference rules comes in. This is why we have what are called formal, right, fallacies and informal fallacies.
I'm just utterly baffled that you don't understand what...
Yeah. Go ahead and give me a citation. Correct me right now on Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy.
I haven't looked anything up right now, but what I'm going to do is say that validity has to do with truth preservation. So the inference rules are understood to be inference rules that preserve the truth, right? So
let's work with that. So is it possible for me to commit a formal fallacy, right? Is it possible for me to commit a formal fallacy if I violated an inference rule?
That's the only way to commit a formal fallacy.
No, it's actually the reverse, buddy. Right? Informal fallacies have to do with the inference rules. Formal fallacies have to do with the structure of the argument. That's validity, right?
I'm saying the structure is the form of the argument. They're the same thing.
This is beyond pathetic.
Good job. I don't even know how to remove this numbskull. Could you do that, Tunlock? He's a retard.
Well,
I can do that.
Yeah, he's done.
Well, you were saying all the false things. I don't know why.
Yeah, the problem we're dealing with here is that he's just being a raging sophist, like he's always been.
Oh my gosh!
He's been a long time stalker of Darth, and he's just a raging sophist. And
look, I'm glad the replay is on here. This needs to go on YouTube. This guy doesn't even know the basics of forming a syllogism. Wow.
Yeah. You were clearly saying things that are way above his pay grade, and he just wasn't responding. He wasn't engaging in good things.
You know what that exposes about him, Tunlock? You know what this
Yeah,
exposes
go
about
ahead.
him, Tunlock, is that he's actually just trying to be a contrarian with everybody he talks to. He actually has no idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Exactly. Thank you. He's just a relentless contrarian. He's a blatant sophist, and again, okay, it's just a waste of time talking to this scumbag. And this was a great start to 2022, man. I'm so glad I saw that exchange unfold.
Well, Tunlock. What? Okay, you agree that was a beautiful exchange, right?
Yes, because it exposed the blatant sophist that scumbag truly is.
Look, I'm gonna upload it. I'm actually gonna upload it to YouTube, but for sure, okay. Because he needs to be exposed for that bullshit. That's what it was.
Yeah. When this is what happens when sophists come across people who actually know the material, actually has read a book or two, know what they're talking about, and then they get exposed for the morons that they are. It was so productive to see that unfold because this is the truth of the matter. When sophists, like realistic nihilists, they may know a few things of technical jargon, but they can't make heads or tails of it because they don't put it in the right application, and then they just try to ignorate people with it. But it doesn't work on people who know better.
I'll put it in the biblical terms. They aren't lovers of the truth.
Yeah. This crap don't work on people who know better than them. This is why it's always important for us to know our stuff. So anytime we come across scumbags like this, we can show them to be the fools that they actually are.
Look, I'm not very active, but I'm worth waiting on when I am active. Why?
You have a YouTube channel.
Why? Because I sit around studying this shit instead of arguing with people all day.
Yeah, he was clearly not attempting to engage in good faith, and he was just, like you said, being a contrarian, being argumentative about one thing after another. That's
all he did.
A similar scumbag earlier in the night who wasn't trying to engage me in good faith. He was just trying. I don't know if you saw that exchange I had with that moron earlier that was arguing about language and biblical translation. The same guy that you gave that point about translation and transliteration, that clown. One way, did you see my exchange with that retard? Oh, actually, I'm going to take that back because I'm going to learn how to use better language than that. Because I want to be sensitive to the ableist topic. I'm going to clean up my language. So that's something I'm going to put on myself in this new year. I'm not typically one to do New Year's resolutions or anything like that. If you're just going to do something, you should just do it, period, no matter what time of the year it is. But if I am going to make any kind of a resolution at all, it would be to clean up my language.
That's your New Year resolution, Tanla?
Okay, this should be interesting. You know what? This should be great. Because I know you're recording this time, Robert. Let's go ahead and invite you in here. I got to reconnect. I was going to invite him in here.
Just randomly.
Okay, there he is.
All right, can you hear me? Hey, what's up happening here, guys?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, I think Josh was right in everything he said.
Yeah, and you've never read any, articles that Josh said I didn't read. Do you agree that there's a difference between validity and soundness in a syllogism?
Yeah, they're distinct notions. Yeah.
Yes, Josh didn't agree to that. So, do you agree with everything everything that he said?
I think he did say that they're distinct notions.
No, he didn't. Okay, it's so beautiful, Todd Locke, that you got this on replay.
Tom Roberts recording this anyway, like he records everything else because he's a secret admirer of our page.
what I think was said by Josh is that validity has to do with truth preservation. And the way you described that was structure, which is the same as what Josh was talking about, right? I think where you got it wrong
No, it
was in a
wasn't.
way.
No, because okay, you're smuggling in different truth theories, right? Are you talking about the referential theory of truth?
No, I'm talking about inference rules when it comes to logic.
Right. Okay, so then that has to do with soundness and not validity. So then what so that what he actually did was conflated these two. Right?
I think you're under the impression that validity has to do with structure and soundness has to do with content. Is that what you think?
Yes.
That's incorrect.
That is
That's
the way that I
incorrect.
view it,
Well,
because that's the way
it's,
that the
it's halfway
that's
right.
the way that
Halfway
the play that's the way that the academic literature itself views it.
Okay, if I could just speak uninterrupted for 1 second, and I'll
Go
tell
ahead.
you why I think you're almost right, but you're wrong actually. So validity has to do with structure. You got that part right. Soundness has to do with structure too, but soundness means that it's both the structure is fine and all the premises are true. That's what soundness means.
Okay, is the structure there in soundness with regard to the inference rules or to the validity of the form of the argument? The structure of the argument.
Those are the same
formal.
thing.
Yeah, see, you just blew it too. Okay, could you show me anywhere on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, right, or the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, where it actually makes that demarcation or that conflate, that sort of overlapping feature that you just gave me? Could you show me that?
What, that soundness means that the inference rule is truth preserving and that the premises are correct? Probably it's on there, yeah.
Yeah, good. So could you show
there,
could you show me the citation?
It might be maybe. So you want to,
Well, I mean,
engage in what could be the case instead of just giving us a citation.
Yeah. So so far it just seems like you're saying I think that's correct.
No.
I'm telling you it's not correct.
I definitely think it's
because I've already read these articles, right?
I'm saying I definitely think it's correct. I'm just saying that I'm just not familiar with what's on the Stanford site. I don't know what's on.
Okay, so are you familiar with the way it defines validity of an argument and how it defines the soundness of an argument in, for example, the SEP?
From what I've seen before, yeah, I think that's consistent with what I've seen.
Right. And were those definitions the same ones that I just gave you?
Well, it seems like you disagree with me.
And I gave Josh?
This is actually a common mistake about soundness. People think that formal fallacy means a problem with structure, and an informal.
I didn't ask you. I asked you a simple question, Tom Rabbit.
What was your simple question?
Did I give you the definitions that you would find on the SEP? Yes or no?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Good, but you know it's wrong somehow, right?
Yeah, that's not the. I am completely. This is the first time.
Okay.
I'm hearing.
Well, listen. I'm done saying my piece for now. I mean, if you want to ask me more questions, I want to let you say your piece on this. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it. So again, my understanding of validity versus soundness is soundness, yes, does have to do with validity, but soundness is not achieved by only validity. Soundness is achieved by validity, which means the structure, which is what you said, which I agree with, right? When we're talking about structure, we're just talking about an inference rule like modus ponens. Modus ponens is a structure of an argument, right? And all the premises have to be true for soundness. So it's two parts, right? Soundness is oftentimes mistaken for like the other side of validity, right? Like valid is the structure and soundness is the premises being true. But no, soundness is all the premises being true and the validity is of the structure. And you seem to disagree with that, and I'm fairly sure that's correct.
Yeah, I certainly do disagree with that, right?
So what do you think soundness means?
Because, right, the only thing that you're going to say about that is, well, it's fallacious. Well, is that an informal fallacy or a formal fallacy?
Here's the thing. I think rather than you two just disagreeing about it,
watch what happens when you do that.
Rather than you two
Formal
just simply
fallacy means that
hold
the
on,
structure is not proof-preserving, so it's an invalid argument.
I think rather than you two simply disagreeing about it, just bring the literature to bear and see what pans out.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not going to hold up when you read these.
Tom,
this is why they won't cite them.
Do that, but first I'd like to actually hash out exactly what the disagreement is. So, in my understanding, a formal fallacy has to deal with structure, and an informal fallacy has to do with content.
That's right. That's exactly what I said, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. Well, this thing's on replay. That's what I said, right?
No, I think you said something like.
So let's use like P implies Q, P therefore Q, right?
I think you said something
that's
like
valid. That's a valid modus ponens argument. But P, right, could represent various things. And then we'd have to examine the content because P is just abstract, right? We need to put some meat on those bones and then test out if it's a valid, if it is a sound, right, modus ponens argument. It's already valid since it's using the same form.
You're not saying anything different than Tom.
No. Okay, well, then in that case, what's Tom's objection? I mean...
Well, you said you disagree with realistic nihilist, and the replay will bear it out, but you...
Yes.
If you're now agreeing with me, I haven't changed anything that I've said, and in the beginning you mocked me, and then you've been saying you were.
Okay, so do you agree with me that you agreed with me? Do you disagree with that?
What did you disagree with Tom on? What do you think he said that was false?
Well, first off, right, the academic sources define validity and soundness to any syllogism in distinct ways. And I actually just basically gave a definition that those academic sources give, which Josh and Tom Rabbit seem to disagree on.
Give me something substantive.
But check this out. If I say that I agree with you and you're saying that you agree with me, then it turns out that you actually agree with what I just said, right?
What did Tom say that you disagree with explicitly?
You mocked me when I came in earlier.
No, I didn't mock. I did laugh, though.
Yeah, you were scoffing and mocking. And you were saying, oh, I'm glad this is recorded. This is great, right?
No, I am glad that this is recorded, right? Because if I ask you, how does look it up right now, okay? The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy's definition of validity. What is that?
Well,
I don't know.
You don't know, but you know that what I'm saying is wrong, even though what I told you is what it says.
Are you talking about the Shapiro article?
I'm literally talking about validity and soundness
you're
as espoused in actual philosophical literature.
I'm talking about the SEP. Are you talking about the Shapiro article?
Okay, Danny, you're gonna have to look.
Danny, I'm gonna move you down into the audience.
No, don't.
We're not gonna go. Hold on, Tom.
Tom,
hold on, dude. Listen. We're not going to go full dumpster fire. Everything is fine up to this point. We don't need to start over-talking each other. All right?
Before we continue, because I don't know where Tom Rabbit is, I still want to wish you Merry New Year.
Yeah, well, no, I muted Tom. You can unmute, and so can you, Danny. But I'm saying, we don't need to come in hot. Just keep going and not over-talk and interrupt.
Yeah, is he talking about the Shapiro article in the SEP? Is that what you're talking about?
No, not the article by Shapiro in the SEP, right? I'm talking about the way it defines it.
Yeah, but look, you see the articles are written by various authors. Are you talking about the classical logic entry in the SEP written by Shapiro, Stuart Shapiro?
Let me take a look at that. Could you send me a link to that so that I can confirm that?
Well, I'm on my phone. I don't even know how to do that. It's very easy to Google, right? Just put classical logic Shapiro SCP.
All right, I'll look it up myself. Classical logic. Okay, what should we be looking up here?
Because nothing that Shapiro said in that
What should we be looking up here? Classical logic and what else?
it's the SCP article on classical logic. Nothing there really contradicts what Tom is saying.
By who? Shapiro.
Well, there are two authors. I only remember one of them, which was Stuart Shapiro.
Yeah, hold on, Danny. All you have to do is go to since you're on your phone, go to your Internet Explorer, find the article, copy it, come back, and in the little bottom right-hand corner, a little paper airplane, or you can tap on one way, and then tap on the paper airplane, send it right to him.
What article
I don't know why that's necessary, because he's saying he read the article on validity and...
What article is it? Can you tell me what the title is?
I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, it's called Classical Logic, SCP, the SCP article for Classical Logic. It's like easier to do, to just Google it rather than what...
Look, guys, he's giving you a lot of search parameters. It's not like crazy.
Classical Logic. What is his full name?
Just SCP Classical Logic should be the first entry.
Shapiro, he said multiple times.
Okay, I didn't hear him. I'm looking for it right now.
Yeah.
Right, so there's just like, look, the disagreement is simply, I said that soundness means, it's actually, there's two different points that have to be checked for something to be sound.
Okay.
That is that the validity of the structure of the argument, Josh referred to it as like truth preserving, or an argument
that's right here. Hold on.
An argument that's valid as like modus ponens. That is a truth preserving structure, modus ponens. But soundness means also that all the premises are true. That's what soundness means.
Yeah, look, and what was weird was that...
No, listen to me. Because I'm getting tired of this bickering. Let's just look at the article and just find out what's going on.
If I say P implies Q, if I say P implies Q, right? Q therefore P, is that valid? Is that a valid modus ponens argument?
Seems like, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. In other words, it's been formally stated, right? But we haven't filled in P. We haven't filled in the Q.
Okay, so there's the article.
That's where soundness comes in.
You guys mentioned the article. Hold on. Stop.
Can I talk about the article?
Stop.
Can I talk about the article? Look,
yes.
It was very, very briefly. I'll read it from the article because I pulled it up myself. Thanks for posting the link. Is that whoever did that? The claim that I
posted the link.
Yeah, thank you. The claim that I heard is that Tom was saying something and contrary to the SCP article, but if you read the SCP article on soundness, here's how they define soundness, right? They define validity first, but the idea is that, I'm just pulling it up. For soundness, here's we show that the argument is derivable only if the valid... this pleasant feature called soundness entails that no deduction takes one from the true premises to a false conclusion. Thus, deductions preserve truth. And that's basically what Tom was saying. The idea is that the premises are true, and if it's sound, and that's to say that we have true premises, you get that conclusion necessarily follows. That's what Tom was saying. So nothing about the article.
No, look. Okay, how do you? Okay, listen to what I'm about to tell you. How do you defend the veracity of modus ponens without using the veracity of modus ponens?
That's a different topic.
No, this is exactly irrelevant. Okay. The same formalism that you're going to have to use there is going to have to be used to deny modus ponens. In fact, entire scholars have written on this, right?
Simply an empirical question.
Watch.
It's going to be resolved by what the SCP.
Well, no, we're talking about rational issues here, right? Like propositions, right?
Wait.
You'd be a strange kind of empiricist to include a rationalism.
I'll wait for you to be done.
Yes. Okay. So let me explain this to you. So the formalism is explained by its internal consistency, right? By its own inference rules, but these inference rules are still on the level of the only way you can defend the modus ponens is to use modus ponens, right?
That's a different topic about what.
This is exactly the point, right? See, now what you want to do is you want to say that that's the same thing as the soundness with regard to the inference rules.
You just interrupted me.
But that's not the case.
The point is that Tom gave an account of validity and soundness. Nothing that he gave contradicts the introduction and the classical logic.
No, he just equivocated on soundness. Even if what you said was true, he just equivocated on soundness. We're not talking then about inference rules. We're talking about internal consistency as inferentially self-justified.
The inference rule is an integral component of soundness.
Then you're not talking about the kind of soundness that I was talking about.
No, but I thought you were talking about the type of soundness.
And you weren't talking about, right? I'm not addressing the kind of soundness that you're talking about.
Okay, so
right? That's
you guys were just talking past each other.
No, what I said was explicitly clear.
Soundness is what the SEP article is talking about. So I don't know why he's. There's no talking past. There was an empirical claim that he made that Tom was going against the SEP article.
Watch. We can settle this real quick. What's the informal fallacy for P implies Q, P therefore Q? What's the informal fallacy for that?
There's no there. You can't tell if there's a informal.
Yeah. So then what would we call that? When the inference rules don't follow, right? It can follow. What would we call that?
No, it does follow. If under classical logic, if you take a modus ponens and you don't fill in the content.
Good.
Follows, right?
Good. Yeah, so if we don't fill in the content, then we can't ascribe some inference rule fallacy, right? These informal fallacies.
Do you know the distinction between formal and informal fallacies?
Yes, I brought that up to Josh and I brought that up to Tom, right? Now follow this retrogradatively, right? Retrocausatively, right? Backwards. How are we going to say P implies Q, P therefore Q equals an informal fallacy? Because informal fallacies have to do with violation of inference rules, which require content, right?
That's not what an informal fallacy is.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying that petitio principii is just as much a formal fallacy as an informal fallacy?
I don't know what you're talking about. You're going to have to explain what you're saying.
Right. It was just one of the kinds of fallacies out there. Right. We have whole lists of both of these.
Look, is it formal or informal?
Well, no, that's my question, right? On your view, is that formal or informal fallacy? And how do you determine that since you've just made those identical?
Look, I don't even know what you're saying. I'm just saying that you can point out fallacies. Right now, if Tom said that you can point out informal fallacies.
Watch. Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you why petitio principii is a formal fallacy, right? Because, right, the conclusion of your premise is stated in the conclusion as well. That's what makes it a fallacy. But you wouldn't say, right, that just because the P is there, the abstract P there, right? P implies Q, Q therefore P. You wouldn't say that modus ponens therefore, right, commits petitio principii, would you?
Look, the only reason why I entered the conversation is you were saying that Tom was contradicting the SEP. Nothing that I saw in the SEP contradict. What about that article that's posted up above, especially in the introduction with respect to validity?
I just explained it to you. This is even true in classical Aristotelian logic.
The intro.
Okay, so then is modus ponens question begging?
Look, I may not know the answer to that question, but I'm just saying there's nothing that Tom said contradicted the account of soundness and validity in the intro to the classical logic SEP entry.
No, and I'm explaining to you why that. Okay, so then all modus ponens arguments, right, of the form P implies Q, Q therefore P are question begging, right?
That's not what. That's not. I don't see how that pertains to what Tom said and what.
Because the definition. Listen to me. Because the definition of petitio principii, right? A circular argument just is that your conclusion is contained in one of the premises.
Look,
right?
You don't see any of that in the intro of the classical logic entry. You don't see any of what.
No, we don't need to, right?
No,
maybe it's because I read books like Irving and Copey's book, right? Introduction to Logic.
Yeah, I have that book, and I actually have that.
Yeah,
book. I read that book.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe
and there's nothing that he said. I actually have that book. In fact, I have the.
Okay, so then are you denying that that's what the definition of circular reasoning is to have your conclusion stated in the first premise?
To a different source. You're changing the topic. First, you said it was the SCP article.
No, I'm
1 second. Sorry, 1 second.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that you first talked about the SCP article and say Tom contradicted that. He didn't. Okay. Now you're switching to
he did.
Source. Excuse me. Now you're talking about the Intro to Logic book, the Copey book, Cohen book. Is that right? There are 3 authors.
That's right.
I have that book, and I'm looking at right now the soundness. Account of soundness and validity, deductive validity. I know there's inductive validity, but clearly Tom is not talking about that, and he didn't contradict that either. So what are you? You didn't listen to my argument then, right? My argument is then that P implies Q.
He let you finish.
Yeah,
talking.
we're not.
P implies Q. Q therefore P. The definition of what we call petitio principii, right? Is that your conclusion is already stated in your premise. So
shut up, Tom. Let him finish. I'll stop him if he overtalks you as well.
Okay. P implies Q. P, right? If P implies Q and then Q, therefore P, then we have definitionally, right, here a circular questioning argument. All modus ponens arguments using this kind of reasoning would then be circular, right? They would all commit this fallacy, which is actually an informal fallacy.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just want to talk about 2 things, right? What did the SCP article in the Copey book say about what soundness and validity is, number 1? And the second thing, does it contradict anything that Tom said? I have read the beginning of the SCP article. I have read the Copey book, right? And nothing that Tom said contradict those sources, right?
No, Tom Rabbit said, right, the same dumb statement that Josh said, that, and I'm not saying that Tom is dumb for this, but it's a dumb statement, right? That validity and soundness are the same thing, basically.
They don't say.
No, I never said that. I never said that.
Okay, you explain to me how you didn't do that then.
Because I never said those words.
Oh, okay. So, is it possible to read your words in such a way with the propositions behind those truth bearers that that's the propositions that entail, even though you don't admit you did that?
Normally?
I don't know what you just said. Right. I said they both soundness and validity share an element of proper structure, valid structure, or as Josh said, truth preserving structure. However, soundness, in order to have soundness, you need another element, which is that all the premises have to be true. And you told me that
does not contradict the Copey, nor does it contradict the SCPR entry.
Yeah, look, I'm going to agree with you. I just think I disagree with the second statement, right? Because the form of, if you used soundness, like I just showed, right, with regard to the form of modus ponens, then every conclusion to every modus ponens argument will be circular, right? Because the definition of a petitio principii argument, right? The problem with it is that the conclusion is stated in one of the premises. So if we say if P then Q, Q therefore P, right? Then it just ends up that P becomes conditionally upon the premises P.
Yeah, look, did what Tom say contradict the Copey book or the SCP entry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it contradicts the distinction
the Copey book definition
all over the place.
I have the Copey definition of soundness right here, okay? And it's going to be basically what Tom just said. I have it right here. Give me a second.
Go
Okay,
for it.
okay, I have it in within a couple of pages. And tell me, Tom, this is what you meant. I mean, we all heard you.
I can just
Okay.
say it explicitly. An argument is sound if all the premises are true and the argument is valid or the structure is valid. I'm just using different ways to say the same thing so it's very clear. The structure is truth preserving. It's a valid inference rule like modus ponens, modus tollens, etc. And you disagree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So hold on a sec. Then what do you think soundness means?
I already explained it to you. Violation of informal fallacies, right? Or the inference rules are such that the premises don't follow, right?
Okay, so you think soundness means that
it doesn't violate any informal fallacies. Yeah. I'm saying, right, validity has to do with form, right?
But soundness has
P
to do
implies
with form.
Q. P, therefore Q. That's a valid modus ponens argument, right?
Right.
What I'm saying is the moment you attach different things for those placeholders like P or Q or whatever, then you have to start thinking about inference rules, and that's when it can either be formally or informally valid. Right?
Okay, the Copy book defines soundness as this. When an argument is valid, this is on page, well, I have the electronic version. I'll get the page number. I have both the electronic and non-electronic, but I'll get the page in a second. When an argument is valid and all of its premises are true, we call it sound. That's the Copy book definition. That's exactly what Tom has been saying for the last, 15 minutes.
Okay, so you're just trying to say that if we include validity, then it's sound.
I'm just saying that Tom didn't contradict the Copy book, and you were saying that he was.
No, I didn't say he contradicted the Copy book. I said he contradicted other sources.
Oh yeah, but the SCP article has the same definition as the Copy book.
No, wait. I don't think it does. Okay, so what you're saying
from the SCP article?
Okay.
Now what book are we going to go to? Now what book do we go to?
No, it's not a question of which book I'm going to go to. Okay, so then you don't make a distinction between soundness and validity then at this point.
No,
that's
I do.
a different question.
What are you talking about?
Tom contradict the Copy book or the SCP article? Yes or no?
I'm going to say the SCP article.
Okay, so I have the definition of the SCP article's soundness, right? Soundness entails that there's no... okay, so in Section 5, we turn to relations between deductive and semantics in particular. So deductive systems have to do with validity. Semantics have to do with content. The relationship between derivability and validity. Right. We show that an argument is derivable only if it is valid. This pleasant feature called soundness entails that no deduction takes one from true premises to a false conclusion. That's exactly what the Copy book said, except in fancier language.
Oh, so in other words, it has to be a violation of inference rules.
Look, did Tom contradict?
There it is for you folks.
No. That's what the Copy book says.
Why don't you answer his question?
I don't understand what his question
I don't understand
was.
the question. The question.
What does it mean? It has to
read,
be a violation of inferences. What does that mean?
Yeah, look, inference rules, right, have to deal with our principles of reasoning between two propositions, right? They aren't the same thing as the formalism P implies Q. This is why you can't say modus ponens is circular, right? You literally, using this logic, Reginald, you would have to actually say that all modus ponens arguments are circular.
Look, do you know my claim? My claim is Tom did not contradict the SCP article. Both the SCP article and the Copy book say the same thing about soundness.
No, answer my question.
Look, I don't know. I might be ignorant about what you're asking.
Read it again.
Nothing turns on the question. I might not. Let's say I'm an ignorant.
What you just read in the SCP article is talking about inferential rules between propositions or statements.
That's what validity has to do with. So if you read the code,
no. Okay. So following that logic, then I guess all modus ponens arguments are circular, right?
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know where that has to do with anything, right? Look, nothing in the SCP article or what you're saying when they talk about soundness has to do with
false.
They don't include inference rules, right? So I don't know where you're getting that. Also, I think you're just talking about validity when you're doing that, but you're saying that you're not. That doesn't matter.
No. Okay, listen to my demarcation again.
Is what the Copy book is saying.
Okay, let me ask you this simple question. Is this a valid syllogism? P implies Q, right?
I don't want to change the
Q, therefore P. Is that a valid syllogism?
Wow,
I might be an ignoramus about logic. Let's just take it. Let's say I don't know. The point is that the words the point is that the words that came out of Tom's mouth.
Look, I'm not going to continue to talk to you if you just say, fuck
you're just
you.
changing the subject. Look, I might be
No, I'm actually sticking to your very objection, and I asked you about. Look, if I gave you this argument, right? P implies Q, P therefore Q, right? What would you say that is valid? That's a valid syllogistic format.
Let's just say that I'm ignorant about logic. I don't know anything. All my claim is, excuse me, sir.
Girl, what are you talking about?
All my claim is that the word
is that a valid syllogistic format?
Sir, I'm
identified as modus ponens.
I'm ignorant about logic, so let me just tell you what I do know, though.
As far as modus ponens is concerned, P is Q,
the words that came out of Tom's mouth. Excuse me. The words that came out of Tom's mouth did not contradict the Shapiro article.
No, they did actually.
Oh, what? No, because Tom defined soundness as the premises needing to be true, and there need to be proper form, needs to be valid for there to be soundness. That's exactly what the Copy book says, and that's exactly what the SCP article said.
No, that's not what the SCP article says, right? I just asked you.
The SCP article on soundness?
Yes. Look, that's what we were just on, and then I asked you the question, but you're going to dodge these, right?
I already told you. When
the SCP article says that we're moving from a premise to another premise to validate it as true, is that an inference rule? Is that an inference rule?
That's not what it says. Try again.
Right, go ahead. Look, you read it, then I'm going to ask you the same damn question that you've been dodging for 5 minutes now.
What? Okay, you want me? I'll read it. Okay.
Read it again.
What soundness is, according to the SCP article, is that soundness entails that no deduction takes one from true premises, so the premises have to be true, to a false conclusion, right? So that's to say that there has to be a true.
So there has to be an inference rule,
the form of the argument, which is validity, and given the truth of the premises. That's what the SCP article is saying.
So there has to be an inference rule, right?
It doesn't say anything about inference rules there.
No, look, I'm asking you. There has to be an inference rule.
I already told you
right?
I'm illiterate when it comes to logic. I'm just saying, do those words contradict?
Danny, no, that's not going to work. I'm going to put you down.
It's just not going to work.
You are not illiterate.
Sound argument.
You're a student of philosophy. And
so watch. Watch me.
Hold on, everyone. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Danny, you are a student of philosophy, right? So you don't get to play ignorant. If you're going to not answer the question, then I'm going to just put you back down.
Well, that's up to you, Redefine.
Please don't do. Please, look, please don't do.
Through the Copy book or the
please don't do that. Redefine living. Hold on, I'll handle this. Okay.
All right.
So then, also, in this article, when it uses the word "or," is it using it as exclusive? Or is it using it as inclusive? Is it an inclusive or exclusive or operator when it says, right, and it has to be valid?
It doesn't say that. It says that entails there's no deduction takes.
Right. So you're just reading into the language that it must be right inclusive rather than exclusive.
One from true premises to a false conclusion.
Right. Is that an inclusive or an exclusive or that he's
There's no or in that statement. Do you want me to reread it for you?
Yeah, yes, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, this pleasant feature called soundness entails that no deduction takes one from true premises to a false conclusion. The word or doesn't show up there.
No, continue reading it.
Okay. Thus, deductions preserve truth value.
Right.
Then we establish a converse called completeness, that an argument is valid only if it is derivable. This shows that deduction system.
You see that, Tunla?
There's nothing there. There's not even the word or there anyways. Where are you?
Did you catch that, Tunlock?
Speaking of reading into the text, you're reading an or into the text. Nowhere did I say there was the word or.
I mean,
It's-
guys. I don't understand what you guys are doing.
It's
Your
a good
premise
thing
wrong.
this is
Why don't you just, like,
recorded,
back
but go ahead.
Yeah, this is great. It's recording. I wonder if it's gonna stay like that.
The word suddenly dropped. Anyways, what would be the problem with it? Let's assume the whole thing is true on your guys' side. So okay, so then now what?
Now what? So then Tom did not contradict the sources that you mentioned, the Kobe book and the Shapiro article.
Yeah,
Okay,
said,
great,
the
great. So then where do we go from there?
I'll tell you now what. When you said that my notion of soundness is not consistent with the SCP, that's wrong. When you said that my notion of soundness is incorrect, not consistent with the second literature that you mentioned, that's wrong. When you told Josh when he came in this room that he was wrong, you mocked, laughed at him, and kicked him off the stage. That was wrong. When you told me that I was wrong,
hold on. I didn't kick him off the stage. In fact, I said I don't know how to kick somebody off on the stage, right? But I'm not going to talk to him anymore.
You made a
he doesn't have any mod power, so how can he kick someone off
the stage? And the only thing that was stopping you was that
Tom Rabbit. Do you acknowledge at least that's a problem, right? I can't, and I didn't kick anybody off the stage. In fact, what I said was, I'm not going to continue to engage in this conversation, and I have no idea how to kick somebody off the stage.
And right? that's when I moved him off the stage.
There you go. Okay, so that's cleared up, let's move forward.
I don't recall him making any command to remove anybody. I think he just said, well, I'm not going to engage with you any further, and then redefine remove to himself.
I don't even know how to remove this numbskull. Could you do that, Tunlock? He's a retard.
Yeah, so you removed him for being correct. He's correct.
I removed him because it was over.
So I didn't want to remove him. I'm not going to continue to talk to somebody who denies basic philosophical categories.
But
the rest of academia.
You refused to talk to someone who was correct.
No, that's a serious loaded question, Tom. Right? Which SCP article? Look, we can go through the SCP, the Irving Cope. We've already done that, right? What we all know, when I ask you, is this argument valid? You know what I mean by that, right? You never ask me, is it sound? Sure. Now, soundness has to do with the justification of the premises, which involves inference rules, right?
No, if you tell me if an argument is sound, then it is valid also.
No, you clearly aren't listening. Look. If I say, here's my argument, right? And I even fill in the P's and the Q's, and I ask you, is this argument valid? Am I also asking if it's sound?
No.
That's right, because there's a distinction within the realm of philosophy, right? You can agree that, look, this argument fits the form of modus tollens without having, right, to shoulder the burden of proof to show that it's sound. You could still say, look, is that a valid argument, right?
Okay, I answered your question. Form. I didn't interrupt you. Now I just asked.
Okay, go ahead.
See, if I ask you if an argument is sound, am I asking you if it's valid?
No, you're asking me from my perspective anyway, at least my understanding of this, does it commit any informal fallacies, right? Or does it violate any? I mean, the first thing that usually happens, right, is if somebody presents a valid argument, nobody even questions its validity, right?
Well, I'm sorry, what was the answer? Because I remember answering.
I'm about to explain that to you, right? If you asked me that question,
don't do that petty crap.
Watch what happens with this, Tom. Watch what happens with this, Tom. When that occurs, right? Let's say I give you a syllogistic argument, right? When you immediately jump to is that sound, you're not asking me if it's valid, right?
That is
you're already seeing that it's valid, so that you're not questioning whether it's valid.
The Kobe book. Tom, look at your Discord messages. You'll see the Copy book there if you need to allude to it. But that contradicts the Copy book.
Okay. Go ahead. Get it out of your system, buddy.
Yeah, look, you just contradicted the Copy book because the Copy book includes the notion of validity and soundness, and you're saying you read that book?
No. Actually, I am including it. The point is, right, is that if we even get to the soundness question, like Tom was asking me, right, it's already been established that it's valid. You're not asking me about the validity. You're asking me about its soundness, which is my exact distinction.
What do you think? If someone just randomly asks me, is this random argument sound? They're asking me about validity. In addition to the truth of the premises, because that's what soundness is.
One way, do you think soundness implies validity?
What do you? Okay, but I can only handle so many people at a time.
All right.
I just want to.
Billy,
Billy,
go ahead. Billy, go ahead. Ask your question.
In your view of soundness, does soundness imply validity?
No.
Well, what?
That contradicts the Copy book.
Soundness doesn't imply validity.
No, what I'm saying when I say implies, I'm not using necessita consequentia, right?
Oh my God.
I would agree that it entails, right, necessita consequentia as a necessity of the consequent.
Well,
I just don't think it entails. I just don't think that it entails, right, as the antecedent, like the necessary condition for that.
Do you know what you're talking about right now?
Yes, I'm talking about modal logic, right?
Modal logic? No, you're not even talking about that.
Oh, okay. So necessary and possibility in terms of propositions is not talking about modal logic.
Yeah, there's a difference between necessarily follows and the necessary that P or necessary if you quantify it.
That's what I just got done explaining. That's modal logic.
The conversation. Why are you bringing in modal logic when we're just asking?
Certainly does.
And you don't need to bring in modal logic to say that the meaning of soundness implies validity. That's what we're talking about. And you're like going all over the place. Like you probably read a philosophy book, but it's
Reginald. No, you're the one going all over the place. Billy is, by the way.
Why did you bring up modal logic?
Because Billy asked me about necessity, right? That's the field of modal logic, right?
There are forms of necessity that are out of the scope.
Listen, Billy. Look, listen, Billy. Did you bring up necessity or did I?
No, you're not getting something when you say necessarily follows.
Watch.
Okay, we're not gonna have all this cross talking.
Look, I'm not talking about modality. I'm saying that, like, for example, all right. That in order, part of the definition of soundness,
we cut out.
And this is like my third lesson of formal logic, right? I learned this. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Can you hear me now? Okay, yeah. So this is like the first, second, third lesson of formal logic, right? In order for an argument to be sound, it needs to be valid, right? I asked you, does a sound argument imply validity? And you said no. So that just means that, like, you're just using a different definition of soundness, or you don't understand what soundness means. I didn't bring in modal logic, by the way. I'm just saying that it's a part of the definition of soundness.
Yes, this is why I accused you of running all over the place with your philosophobabble, right? All we're asking is, does soundness mean validity? And it does, right? It means other things. It also implies that something about the content, the propositions are true, and the premises are true, or whatever. But
I don't think you should say that soundness means validity, because I think that's where confusion is coming in. It necessarily means that there has to be. Oh, I shouldn't use necessarily.
It's okay to say necessarily follows, necessarily means, but you're not quantifying over propositions, right? You're just saying that it follows.
Is necessary a helping term in modal logic?
Sometimes, yes, but it's also not always, right? When you say necessarily follows, what people are not quantifying. There's no necessity operator that quantifies over a premise or a conclusion.
Does that mean in order for you to consider necessity, right, that we have to also include possibility?
Look, we don't have to go into modal logic to hash out this disagreement.
Right. And the reason why is...
Yeah, guess what? I don't need to go into validity to figure out that something is not sound. Thank you.
Validity is a component of soundness. So if you're going to try and determine whether or not something is sound, you necessarily have to hash out whether or not it's sound.
Not at all. Not at all.
What?
If you show that premise one in a valid argument is false, then the argument's not sound. But the argument may still be valid, right?
No, look. It's unnecessary, right? You could Tom Rabbit could give me an argument right now in a syllogistic form, right?
But one way,
I could just refute the inference rules and not even care about the validity, right? The formal structure of the argument.
Refuting the inference rules.
That's refuting validity. If you show that the inference doesn't necessitate the conclusion, you are refuting validity.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Not at all. Okay, are you saying that entails okay, then what is an informal fallacy?
Are you just trolling? Like,
it's regards to the content.
Yeah, it's regarding content, not the form, the abstract form of the argument, right? We're literally going full circle to what I said at the beginning right now.
But
which
you
is
might
what?
have an argument that's begging the question, right? But that begging the question argument might still be sound.
But, okay, do you mean potential? Okay, let's work with this. So, Billy, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Tom. Does P imply Q? P therefore Q, right? This typical modus ponens argument, is that question begging?
No.
Why?
No, it's not.
Why not?
Yeah, there's no sorry, one sec.
Tom, Discord DMs.
All right, I'm coming. Okay. Sorry, I got to go in like 1 minute. So it's sorry, what was the question? Is it question begging? No.
See how this happens.
There's no
P implies Q.
Oh, look. I'm trying to answer the question. It's not question begging.
Go ahead.
Because Q doesn't appear in any of the premises. So it's not question begging.
No, it actually does, right? Premise one, P implies
I gotta go, but like, oh my.
Yeah.
It's not question.
Yeah. Of course, because it's what's called an. It's because it's what's called an informal fallacy.
I just want to do. I'm gonna leave. It was nice talking to you. I appreciate being able to speak.
Happy New Year. I know we didn't agree, but at least we were charitable in our chat.
Take care of yourself one way. All the best.
Happy New Year to everyone. Tom can read it.
Yeah, you too, Tom. You need to repent, man.
Did you get that, Tom Rabbit?
Exactly. Repent.